how do we make the world a better place? Find a way, and my own unique way is through beaded tapestry. That's a lot to look at, isn't it? I decided that I wanted to do something that mattered. I wanted to do something that was bigger than myself, and something that the world had never seen before. And this is what I came up with. I had a deep interest in learning more about World War II, and I was just starting to learn how to do bead tapestries. So I combined those two interests, and 32 tapestries later, it's pretty amazing when I think about the body of work. One of the reasons that I'm excited about being here at the DOS is this is a free community museum, and there are lots of community activities. And when this tapestry exhibit went live, it was during their festival. 2,000 plus people came through the museum. And so I'm tickled that not only was I invited to show, but there was a lot of foot traffic. And so as an artist, I got a chance to see people coming through, making comments. I sent a couple of ladies over to the gallery to look, and they came back and said, I couldn't find the beaded tapestries, but I saw the World War II photographs. Come with me, I'll show you. Anyway, I want to tell you about not only the journey, but the process. So when you think about the 32 tapestries, it really is a process. I have to start with a vintage photograph. I take that photograph and I manipulate it in some photo software, because when I get the photograph, they're not always ready for a pattern. So often I will manipulate the photograph. Oh gosh, it'll take me 2 or 3 weeks of just playing around with it, trying different shading, and making sure that the facial features are showing prominently. Because if I can't get the face right, or the lips right, or the glint in the eye right, it's a lot of beads and a lot of wasted time. And I've taken some of these tapestries apart when they didn't come out the way I wanted them. So part of the process then is to load the photograph into the software in which I make my patterns. And sometimes you'll actually see, if you saw my patterns, you'll see a number, rough 35. Well, that's the number of times I ran it through the software to try to come up with a good pattern. And so sometimes it's 16, sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's longer. It can take me weeks to finally come up with the pattern that I can use to generate the tapestry. And then I've got to find the beads. So the beads are really expensive, and so you don't want to waste beads. I've got to make sure that I've got the inventory to match the tapestry pattern, and then it's warping the loom. So some of you have seen weaving. You got the warp threads that go up and down, and the weft that goes back and forth. So I have to warp the thread, and you can see an example in the back, warp the thread onto the loom, and then I'm literally picking up 5 beads at a time, looking at them, lest a rogue bead sneaks in. You can see the rogue beads at the bottom. These are supposed to be precision cut, but every once in a while, a rogue bead sneaks in. So visual inspection every 5 beads, and I'll thread 129 beads across. That's the standard size for my tapestries. 129 beads, forcing them through the warp threads, and then putting the weft thread through the front of the warp thread so that they're held in place. It's quite a process. And then when I'm done and it's off the loom, then I got to figure out what to do with all those threads, which over years I've come up with a really great technique for getting rid of those. And you can see my bead soup. I mentioned that I took some tapestries apart. That was part of a 50,000 bead soup that was the result of some tapestries that I took apart. Okay, so back to the beginning. My very first tapestry, 2013. I really didn't know what I was doing. I maybe watched a video or two. I had my loom. I had done some more free-form bead weaving, but this was a whole different thing. It took me 6 months, I think, from start to finish to do that triplicate tapestry. Film strip, I don't know why I thought about that, but I made it film strip. And I used 3 different types of finish on the bead. So the top tapestry is very shiny, and it had 8 colors. The middle one had 5 colors, and it was more of a matte. And then the negative, I was trying to achieve some kind of a negative feel to it, and you can see that the face moves back the further you go down the tapestry, with the caveat, never forget. I really wasn't sure how to finish it off, so I just glued pieces of wood together, and you can see the finished product. It's a little warped. It's still together, but I've definitely moved on from there. And then I recreated the same tapestries. This is the Maureen in Saipan photograph that led into Ken Burns' The War, the PBS special. And this was Maureen in Saipan, who was actually a stretcher bearer, and they were carrying a dead Marine to his final destination. So it was pretty daunting. When I was building the tapestry, you build them from the bottom up. You start seeing the chin and the lips, and then you get to the nose, and then you get to the eyes. And this guy was watching me the whole time. So my process has improved significantly.